Hey, Randy Hunter here, and I just wanted to take a minute and let you know a little bit about my new set of saxophone lessons called the Rock and Blues series. Now, I know that when I was a young guy and studying jazz, I used to really get a lot more calls to go play rock and blues kind of gigs, and I learned very quickly that my approach to soloing on these tunes was quite different than the approach to soloing on a jazz tune. You know, in jazz, I'm learning about bebop and flat nines, alterations to the harp, all kinds of things like that. But when I would go play these rock gigs, I learned real quickly it became more about how you played things than about having a bunch of notes available in your vocabulary. So, the solos have a tendency to be more lick-based, motif-based, a lot of call and response kind of ideas, those sorts of things. Some of the things that we've already studied in blues, but, really just the way things are played really was what it was more about. Now, I wanted to cover some of the fundamental things that you'll need to know when going to play these rock gigs or learning about these tunes or blues gigs, etc. So I've put together a 4-lesson set that covers some of the foundation material. The first lesson is called the 5/4 turnaround. Now, in jazz, often we use a 2/5/1 turnaround, but in rock and blues, we'll often use a 5/4 turnaround. So I'm not going to explain that right now. You can see some samples from the lessons in a moment where I'll talk a little bit more about that. But, we'll cover what you play on these 5/4 turnarounds and what a 5/4 turnaround actually is. Then we'll go into a set of lessons called common blues forms, where I've taken a couple of blues, James Brown's I Feel Good, which if you may not have realized that before, but that's really a blues progression with a bridge. I've broken down the chord progression and maybe explained to you my approach on soloing on that tune. At least one of my approaches. And I've also taken another tune, Kansas City, which is more of a shuffle kind of blues, and done the same thing, broken down the form, etc., talked about how to solo on it, all of those sorts of things. Then I've put together a vocabulary basics lesson called Rock and Blues Vocabulary Basics. And that really covers some of the foundation material for creating these solos, for building your vocabulary. Actually, that one's the second one in the set, so you'll see some clips from it too. So we've got the 5/4 turnaround, the Rock and Blues Vocabulary Basics, common blues forms, and finally we've got Rock and Blues licks of the great sax players. And this one is a real fun lesson series, or real fun lesson, probably my favorite in the whole series, where I've taken half a dozen licks from guys like Sam Butera, King Curtis, Syl Austin, Red Prysock. I've transcribed some licks. I reference YouTube videos. I made sure to pick licks that are on YouTube. So, tunes that are on YouTube, and I've given you reference points where you can hear the licks, and then I've really gone into and analyzed how these licks were played to help you really get an idea for the types of inflection, embellishment, etc. that some of the great players use, and hopefully that'll help you develop your own personal approach to playing these rock and blues type solos. Okay, so check out some quick licks, some quick clips from some of these videos right now. Turnaround, the 5/4 turnaround, and this is a big King Curtis kind of sound. King Curtis, Red Prysock. This is a big sound that you hear in these guys, and really in a lot of rock tunes, a lot of blues tunes. Now the 5/4 turnaround is not exclusive to rock and blues. You can also find jazz tunes that have 5/4 turnarounds, but very typically we associate them with these rock kind of sounds. So now, the turnaround part is, what I was doing is just a basic 1/4/1 blues. So I started out with the 1 chord, and I'm playing in the key of C on tenor sax. So, of course, that's G on alto, but we're going to talk tenor sax key because you can play it on alto in this key as well. And then if you learn things by the numbers, it's easy to take them to other keys. So the 1 chord was the C chord. That's where I started out with that. Then I went to the 4 chord. Then back to the 1 chord. But now we're up to the turnaround, the 5/4 turnaround, and really we're just dealing with 2 chords in the key of C. If you count up to the 5th tone in the C scale, C, D, E, F, G, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That puts us on G. Now, if G is 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, you find F is 4. So we're dealing with the G chord and the F chord. Now in these blues tunes, I'm playing kind of a rock tune that has seventh chords in it right now, but these turnarounds often, and the tunes don't always have sevens in them. Sometimes these blues and rock tunes are just pretty much major chords or six chords. So either way, we're still dealing with the G chord and the F chord in the key of C as the 5/4. Now, a lot of the licks that you put on, in fact, most of the licks that you put on these kind of tunes, especially these licks that move parallel like that, those are based largely on the arpeggios, really on the 1, 3, 5 arpeggios. So in G, if you think of, let's think of the G. But really what I wanted to do in this session is kind of build a foundation for creating solos in these keys so that you understand where the vocabulary comes from. Now, obviously we've got things like the blues scale, we've got the minor pentatonic, which the blues scale is based on, but really what I wanted to do in this series, or in this session, is just kind of go through the major pentatonic scale and the major blues scale and locate some key points on these scales that you'll want to work with. Now, if you're not well versed in major pentatonics, be sure to check out my lesson series called Relating the Pentatonics, and you can learn a little bit more about pentatonic scales. But the pentatonic scale briefly is 1, 2, 3, 5, 6 from the pentatonic, from the major scale. So I'll talk in C, although most of these tunes are in other keys like D and E and A. So most of these style tunes are in different keys, but still, I'm going to talk in saxophone key of C. So non-transposed, just saxophone key of C. That way, if you're playing alto or tenor, it really doesn't matter. You can do this stuff on either horn. So the C pentatonic scale. C, D, E, G, A, C. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 8 from the C major scale. Listen to it. Pretty sweet sounding, huh? But I can take it and I can put a little style into it, because a lot of what goes on in these solos is the way the music's played, not just the notes, but the way it's played. So I'm gonna rock it up a little bit. So you do that with a combination of the thrust of. Now, we'll go through a couple of tunes here and check out the form in these tunes and come up maybe with some ideas for soloing on them. So you probably recognized what I just played as maybe the solo section from James Brown's "I Feel Good." So "I Feel Good" is a rock blues that has a bridge, and the solo that I played started on the bridge. Now, let's just talk about the form for a minute. The real form of the tune is A, B, A. It's got an interlude, and then it goes to the bridge. I mean, so it's got a 12-bar A section. It kind of goes back and forth between 12-bar A sections and a B, a bridge section. The A sections are just a 12-bar blues. It's just 4 bars on the 1 chord, followed by the 2 chord, followed by the 4 chord, followed by the 1 chord, and a 5/4 turnaround. And if you recall, we've done the 5/4 turnaround before. The bridge, where I started the solo, and this, depending on the bands that you play with, the solo can be in different places. But I've played a lot with a band where the saxophone solo comes in on the bridge, on the B section, where it starts on the 4 chord. Now, this version of "I Feel Good" is, or the key that James Brown initially did it in was D concert. That's E on tenor and B on alto. I know that's your favorite key. So on the 4 chord, 1, 2, 3, 4 from E is the A chord. Now, and this particular blues, they're dominant chords. They're all dominant chords in this particular. I was thinking, what better way to cap off this little 4-lesson set on rock and blues sax playing than to take some licks from some of the great players. In fact, you just heard me take a couple of the licks that I'll show you. One was from King Curtis, the other one was from Syl Austin. So, and I've got licks also from Sam Butera, from Louis Prima fame, and also Red Price Ox. So I've got several licks that we're going to go through, and since I can't include the original recordings on this video lesson because of copyright issues, I made sure to choose licks from tunes that are on YouTube, recordings that are on YouTube, to transcribe, and I transcribed all of these so that we can directly reference these number points on the YouTube videos. So I'll be sure to give you the titles of the songs, the artist, and the exact minute and second you can go to check out the different licks that we'll go through. Now again, I won't include the original recordings as we go, but I transcribed them, and I'm trying to get them pretty close to the way the original guys played them. So you'll be able to listen to me and take what I hand you, and then listen back to the original versions and see if you can get them even closer. Maybe you pick up things that I've missed, but at least I'm going to give you a little reference point to get started with this stuff, okay? Now, if you enjoy these kind of lessons, be sure to let me know, and I'll try to put more of them together in the future. It's completely up to you guys, okay?